It's got no narration until right up at the end. After Batty dies, you have a new set of dialogue and a different Harrison Ford voiceover, just saying like, "And I stayed there all night long, and I watched him die," kind of thing. Yeah, it's worth it if you can get your hands on it. It's part of this 5-disc set. I got this used on Amazon for maybe about $40, but it's dude,
nice.
I'm so happy I got.
See, I don't got that. I've just got like the 3-disc 4K that comes with. It comes with a special disc that has bonus stuff on it. You've got the Blu-ray, and then you've got the 4K disc. But it's got all 3 editions on it. So you've got the theatrical, you've got the final cut, and then you've got the like unlicensed director's cut, whatever they came out with.
There was the director's cut that came up before the final cut.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
I thought I was a badass because I had the soundtrack on the album on vinyl. So I mean,
you can be.
I actually have it, and it's a 1982 print. It's an original cut, vinyl cut from the 80s. It's not a recut.
Great. Yeah,
so you've got the version without the talking in it, without the dialogue.
Yep.
Yeah, because the only one you can get now that's printed now, it has the dialogue mixed in with it.
No, mine is straight, just Vangelis's score from the movie. Isn't that who did it? Was Vangelis that did it, or was I'll have to pull the album out? Yes, okay.
Vangelis,
whoever you. Oh, did you invite Louise up, or is she not? Or is she sitting out of this one because she knows?
Is more than welcome to get her butt up here. Anybody, if you are looking for an invite, check the community tab in your YouTube. It will throw you an invite, or check Patreon, and their invite is in the Patreon. So if you are a member.
You stuck us live, didn't you?
We are live. We are rolling. rolling.
Because Louisa, I think this is a topic Louisa and I'd get into an argument about as well, like with Star Trek.
But there can't be coffee in that nebula. There's no nebulas in Blade Runner.
Chakotay.
Only a sea of stars. Lieutenant Tuvok, set a course for that nebula. There's coffee there.
Hey, everybody out there in TV land.
Hello. See that Loki pulled a cold opening on us?
Yes.
But there is space exploration in Blade Runner, especially what Batty talks about. And what you don't know is they're lying to everybody. Okay, you've got that big blimp. Remember the big blimp, the big floating? Yeah. It's like, try your luck in an off-world colony. Begin life again on a beautiful. Yeah, none of it's like that. They're all barren rocks, and people are barely surviving. And you've got rebellions, you've got all kinds of stuff, which is why they need the replicants to go in and clean house, because no one's behaving themselves on the off-world colonies. Begin again in a beautiful world out in space that there is nothing on, and people are literally starving to death on. So they're tricking people into leaving Earth so they have more resources, and they've got shit out in space.
So everything's as dystopian as it is on Earth at that point as well.
Yes.
So the universe as humans know it as dystopian. Cool. Something to look forward to.
Here's some trivia. The Kurt Russell movie Soldier is is set in the Blade Runner universe.
How is that?
Yeah, that was
seen it, but it's like someone's like, "Hey, did you know this?" And I'm like, "No, I didn't know this."
Yeah, I remember having this talk when Soldier came out when I was working part-time at a comic shop here. And that was brought up that that was part of the Blade Runner universe that was heavily discussed, and everybody was trying to lay down the timeline to how it all fit and worked together.
I think it has to do with the Tannhauser Gate.
And I've never seen Soldier. I need to go see it, but I never
seen Soldier.
Nope,
I haven't seen Soldier yet either. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that because
neither one. How can neither one of you have seen Soldier? What the hell is up with that? Tell me this guy's seen Soldier. He is a soldier. Tell me, Mr. CCDB, that you've at least seen Soldier. with Kurt Russell movie.
Yes.
Ultimate Badass.
Yes.
Trained from babies. Dude, when they sick those dogs on that kid, I was like, holy shit.
Jean-Claude Van Damme, right? And Kurt Russell. Or am I thinking of a different movie?
Oh, so the connection to Blade Runner, it was because Soldier was written by David Peoples, who co-wrote the screenplay of Blade Runner, and he was involved in the rewrites of the script for Blade Runner, and you can so Todd, that's the Kurt Russell, right? He participated at Tannhauser Gate and the Shoulder of Orion. Also, you can see a spinner can be seen among the pile of junk in Arcadia 234.
So it happened before. So it happened before Blade Runner, or no? Well, no. If Batty's talking about he's seen Tannhauser's Gate, then that's during Blade Runner. Then that's happening within the. Was it how long did replicants live? 5 years, 3 years, or 5 years?
Yeah, 5.
So it was happened within 5 years of that movie.
Inception dates, morphology.
Penny, well, so, how dare you suggest I'm a writer? I don't write worth shit.
Oh man, I was at Man Expo Boston this weekend. My buddy Memes of Destruction was puffing on a Marlboro Light, and I came very, very close to saying, "Brother, give me one of those heaters." I haven't had a cigarette in 18 years, man. 18 years.
Don't start smoking again, because trust me, once you quit, it's totally worth not smoking ever again.
Keep walking.
I'll agree with that.
I don't smoke, so I'm cool. I smoked. Last time I smoked a cigarette was 1988.
It feels great to be able to do this and go.
I know. Asshole. I love secondhand smoke for that reason, man.
I'll kill somebody for the damn nicotine in their damn fingernails. I'll be like, son of a bitch, come here.
I had perfect aim too. Just I could be that asshole. I can hit you from afar with a smoldering ember of a butt. Awesome.
Oh no, my fingers are not that discolored. Son of a bitch. They should be.
Well, it's good to see Mr. CCDB. We've got the Reverend Sully here. Hello. We're talking about Blade Runner. Mark the Infinitely Tired, the angriest wrench in Valhalla.
I'm not that angry. I haven't booted it. I haven't booted anybody in a while. Well, I did lay a rose by accident last week. So,
dude, dude, you don't have to be angry to be angry.
Okay.
You don't have to be angry to be angry.
Okay.
At least you're not these guys.
Oh my goodness.
I would totally wear a neon shirt if it got me money. I would definitely wear a neon shirt if it got me money.
I wanted to see Barbie, but then Simu Liu had to open his dumb mouth and just say something stupid, and I was like, no, I'll wait till it's free on Amazon.
Do you approve of them making a sequel? We'll go around the room here. I didn't have a problem with them doing a sequel as long as they respected the original material, and they
2049
really 2049.
I thought it was 2/3 of a really good Blade Runner story. I think as soon as Harrison Ford enters in the third act, it just gets off rail. That was so unnecessary. They could have done it without him, and it would have been a better story.
It would have been a better story without him. Absolutely.
I agree. And if they were going to do it, they should have done it like Star Wars. They should have done it years sooner.
Mm-hmm. But they never had to like include him. They could have done the thing with Rachel. They could have done all that and just never included them.
Mm-hmm.
And just have, well, this is the kid. This is the kid. Is he the kid? No, he's not the kid. This other kid's the kid with no immune system. That explains it. But I think that like someone once told me, they said they screw it up by making him a horrible father. And I said, that's absolutely not the case. He is the most wonderful father of fathers because he made them take her away and not tell him where she was.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they found him and tortured him for information to her, they would be able to find her through him. And that's the last thing he wanted. So the only thing he could do was protect his kid by not being around her at all. So that's the ultimate sacrifice of a father, in my opinion. But we're not here to talk about 2049. Oh
no, what are we watching the show on, by the way? Because I've got many different
versions.
No, watching the stream with people, different websites that I can
Oh no, we're not watching. We're not watching. We're just talking. We're just talking. Original Blade Runner, theatrical run.
Oh, okay.
Can I clarify something real quick, Loki? When I said I accidentally booted Leia Rose, it was not Leia Rose, it was Gun Bunny. My apologies, Leia Rose, it was not you. I didn't void you by accident. It was Gun Bunny I voided by accident.
Oh my goodness.
Did you permanently void her?
No. I just timed her out.
Mark, what did you do? See, this is why he's like the angry. You never know. You never know. You never know what version.
Well, you can throw Chris Person in there too, because he's your wrenches have shouldn't be on their phones while they're wrenching is what the problem is.
Oh my gosh, I
Wow.
I've timed out and blocked people accidentally, like, you know, being on YouTube and my phone. Like, you know, that's how it gets done. Yeah. Oh gosh, I felt so bad.
Well, that's what happened to Lady Mist. That's why Lady Mist is called the Guardian of the Void. She sent a super chat, and I went to say thank you, and it fucking timed her out. And I was like, oh my God. And the person running the show was like, Loki, what did you do? And I'm like, I didn't mean to. I was on my phone. I'll never be on my phone again. And she's like, it's okay. I'm back from the void. And suddenly she's the Guardian of the Void.
And she got made a wrench after that point too, so she couldn't get void.
God,
I remember that night.
I felt so bad. I felt so terrible.
Oh goodness. But back to Blade Runner.
Back to Blade Runner.
Back to Blade Runner.
Oh
I'm going to drop the link to this book into our private chat so we can all pick up a copy and we can all study our homework. This is called Future Noir. It is the making and behind the scenes of Blade Runner, and this is really interesting, especially everything that Harrison Ford says. He doesn't say anything about replicants back then either, but specifically Rutger Hauer and how he approached the character of Roy Batty and how he said, you know, this creature is 5 years old, and so mentally I want to approach that he's that juvenile, you know. And that's a paraphrase, but that like really nails the spirit of what he was after. And I just, oh gosh, just the Rutger Hauer stuff he saves it for the very last. So
yeah.
And that how Sean Young hated Harrison Ford, and Harrison was so annoyed by her, and that he was actually pretty physically rough with her during those scenes.
And he purposely grew the 5 o'clock, the deep 5 o'clock shadow, just to annoy her when he kissed her. That was on an interview somewhere. That it was hilarious because they could not stand each other the entire time they were filming that movie.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that. I was an absolute prick to that young lady. She smelled. She smelled, and she had little hands. I didn't like her.
That's the biggest problem with the little hands. It just ain't right.
And it turns out she had twig and berries in another movie. So she's not a. That's not a woman, baby. That's a man.
I thought we weren't going to talk about Laces Out.
You know, Laces Out eventually. When you say Sean Young, it's going to happen. But she redeemed herself, and she was in 2 good movies in the '80s. That and Dune.
Dude, I loved her. She played great Shawnee. She was great Shawnee in Dune.
She did Shawnee very well.
She was supposed to be Catwoman, but apparently Tim Burton didn't like absolute fucknut crazy, so he was like, nope, we're not going there. Which is
odd because Chaney
and an invite.
That's crazy.
I did, and an invite. I talked to Gerry. I talked to Gerry last week, and I sent him an invite. I hoped he would be here. He did have an invite. He does have a link to get in, but I don't think he remembered. So I know he loves this. He asked me if I was interested in getting maybe a cast member or someone involved with the movie on, and I said, listen, this is just a member stream. I so very much appreciate it. Gerry was like, yes, we'll do this. And I said, look, it's just for we're going to just hang out and talk about the movie and have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I did. Thank you, Penny. Yeah, if you guys want to, if any of you want to come up, you're more than welcome. I will send a reminder.
So the movie, right?
Yes.
And you're thinking to yourself, I know the movie.
Yes.
And every time you end up seeing the movie, you go, I've seen that movie. I know I've seen that movie. Damn it. There's so many levels of science fiction in that movie.
Well, Sully was talking about there were some parts that you can't, once you see it, you can't unsee it, that Loki and I never noticed it. I don't even know.
Please tell us.
Okay.
Yeah, please tell us. Please tell that way everybody hears this, because I was absolutely
This is
amazed.
a good one. You're never going to unsee this in the subsequent times you're going to watch it after this. What is the last thing that happened? Well, what happens when Deckard is holding on for dear life? He's about to slip. Batty's just standing over him in the rain, watching him. Deckard slips. His hand slips. But right before Batty grabs him and saves him, what happens? Does anyone know? Let's give the chat just a second to.
Oh yeah.
Just. Something distinctly happens, and you blink and you miss it, and it happens so quickly that because it was mentioned in Future Noir in this book, and so since I read it, I was like, oh my gosh, that really does happen. And what happens is that Deckard spits in Roy Batty's face, and in that blink of an eye second, Batty saves his life. And it's this defiance, that human spark of fight, of defiance, that I think that impresses Batty the most. And that's what gives Batty something that was new to a replicant: empathy.
Well, the whole movie, they're trying to find some way to cheat death. And if they were in that position, they'd be like, they'd be trying to find a solution out of it. And Deckard's just like, flips him the bird in a way on the way down, and that impresses him to the point that he's like, holy shit, I can't let this guy die. I can't.
He was marveled by him. And then he had that coming to Jesus moment, I guess. He was like, wow, life. It is precious. All these moments, like tears and rain. And the whole thing with the pigeon, the dove, that was an improv done on Rutger Hauer's behalf. He came up with that and threw it at Ridley Scott, and he was like, can I hold the bird, and then at the moment of my death, let the bird go. The bird flies away.
And it's me ascending to heaven with the bird.
Well, I thought that whole entire scene was basically Rutger Hauer. I mean, wasn't that all basically ad-lib? I mean,
he got some kind of there was it started off like the whole thing with the Tannhauser Gate, but then Rutger got to improvise a bit, especially with the tears and rain part.
Yeah,
and it was just the brilliance of acting and just the kind of collaboration of art and the artists. What a nice story.
Well, I don't know if you ever saw that interview we did with Edward James Olmos, but he was talking about Blade Runner and how he went to Ridley, and he was like, "What if I had this language?" This language that's just like, like cha-choo-total. And he's like, what is that? He goes, I don't know. I just made it up, but it'll be, Russian and Mexican and Chinese and all these different languages, and there'll be a mishmash, hodgepodge, and Harrison Ford uses that line, a hodgepodge of all these different languages, and that it was his idea, and Ridley was like, "That's amazing, yes, let's do it, but you're gonna have to tell us, how it all works." And he goes, "I went home and I figured out, and I broke down these little words, and I hadn't, figured any of it out yet, but I was sure as shit was going to. That way I could create this language and have it be a part of the movie." And I was like, damn, that's like, that is completely, I'm not up my own ass directing, where Ridley would be like, yes, give me something cool like that and we'll use it. That's excellent.
And the origami that he drops, like the first one is a chicken. And he's talking, because that was him taunting Deckard. And then the next one was a man with a large phallus. It almost like a fertility symbol. And then the third one was the unicorn.
Deckard
when did he
unicorn?
Yeah. Well, the unicorn
Another
is
phallus.
the one that everybody focuses on, isn't it? The unicorn.
Indeed.
Oh, there is another movie franchise tied to this as well. That Alien is tied to it as well in the distant future.
Oh, because of the
Utani Whalen or It's
okay,
not
what
Building Better Worlds?
No, it's Ash.
Okay.
Ash was a Ash was a replicant.
That makes sense.
The Ash was not a Wayland Yutani android. He was a
Nexus series, Nexus 6, or
he wasn't a Nexus 6, but he was made by the Tyrell Corporation.
Yeah, and the Tyrell Corporation is mentioned at one.
Yes.
It is definitely mentioned in the movie, in the franchise.
The Tyrell Corporation is supposed to exist in the Alien and Predator universe.
Indeed.
Oh, isn't the future just wonderful to look forward to? But I'll be dead before that happens. But
you had the Terminator franchise is also supposed to be a part of that too, because of the Hyperdyne.
Huh. I did not know that. That's one I did not know.
Yep.
I knew Alien was.
You've got Cyberdyne and you've got Hyperdyne, and those are supposed to be offshoots of one another.
Oh. Okay.
So just one of them never took over the world and blew it to hell in 1996. But then again, the Federation was never born after the eugenics wars in 1996 either. So
that stuff doesn't count. That's over there on Paramount, especially after that last episode. But that's a different subject for a different day that you've already covered.
No track. We don't need no stinking no track.
So there I was thinking in 1999 that things would get better after Quantum Leap started. I was absolutely wrong about Quantum Leap, and I'm still absolutely wrong about Star Trek too.
Mr. CCDV, let me ask you a question. There's a turtle going through the desert, and you kick it over, and it's laying on its back.
What's a tortoise?
What's a tortoise? What's a tortoise? What's a tortoise? It's turtle. You know what a turtle is, Leon?
What's a tortoise? What's a tortoise?
You know what a turtle is, Leon? Yeah, it's the same thing.
So, are we gonna get the biggest argument out of the way, or are we gonna save it for later towards the end? To get
let's save it. Okay. Let's save it. Let's save it a little bit. I want to see if
anybody jumps up.
If Gerry shows up, or Gerry, or whatever the hell.
Gerry,
I'm calling him Gerry. Yeah, Gary's
a good
supposed
guy.
to be.
I like him.
Gary's great. No, the guys over at Pop Culture Minefield are absolutely excellent.
Because that would probably take up an entire show in itself, arguing that point. It's a very yes, and we would. I've got a weird theory on that one. I don't know if you were in here. I don't know if you were in here, Sully, but when Loki and I were talking, were you in here when Loki and I were talking about it? I don't want to say my theory, but yet I don't know if you were
to the end.
And I don't.
As my therapist says, let's put a pit in it.
And it's a strange and weird theory that probably doesn't fit, but it's always been in the back of my mind when I watched Blade Runner.
I'm talking to Sully for 25 minutes, and I'm already starting to be like, "Hey, roll your eyes over here. We'll put a pin in it. We'll take the pin out. We'll put it over here."
I don't hear the Boston. I don't hear the Boston accent. Now everybody hears my Southern accent, of course, but you know,
you guys are wicked pisser. I can tell you that.
There it is.
This is better than hanging on the street corner drinking Budweiser in the rain any day.
Well, now you got to have a cocktail weenie to drink Budweiser in the middle of the day.
Oh man, I was always a Bud Light. I mean, not a Miller Lite drinker, but then I gave up drinking. Oh man, getting old sucks.
Well, Miller's fine. It's the Budweiser.
Miller Lite. You know what a salty highball is? I'm from South Boston, Massachusetts, 02112 and 7 from the projects. And a salty highball is when you take a warm can of Miller Lite and you pour it over ice in a highball glass, and that's it. And it's also a thing called salty shrimp.
Salty highball.
Yeah, that's a salty highball. And salty shrimp is when you take the cheese puffs, not the crunchy ones. I mean the puffy ones, and you put them in a circle around a ramekin and a ketchup.
Well,
that's
there's a reason. There's a reason I don't live in Southie.
Now, Southie depth charge. Southie depth charge is when you take your beer and you put your shot glass in it. With your shot in it.
You get wicked hammered, wicked quick. Put your vodka in your Red Bull because you get drunker quicker.
we had a kid
talking about.
We had a kid transfer. Okay, so I'd been in Texas maybe like 2 or 3 years. I can't remember. It was 2nd or 3rd grade, and we got a kid in that's like, "Hey, how y'all doing? We're rolling your eyes here." And I was just like, "What is wrong with you? What do you mean, eh?" And I'm like, the way you, I'm from South Boston, you little fuck. And he's like an 8-year-old.
It sounds like it.
Oh my God, dude. And yeah, so I love it. I absolutely love it. I was like blown away. I'm like, what the hell's wrong with you?
What is wrong with you, kid?
I'm just getting used to the, howdies and all this shit coming from California. And now I get this. Now I get this South Boston project kid that's like, "How you doing? We roll our eyes where I'm from. Say hi to your mom for me, you little fucker."
You know what? You gotta put them jimmies on the top of the thing, and you take the jimmies and you go home and you go, "Hey, I got a bunch of jimmies from the time I went to the
jimmies shop at the ice cream parlor."
Right.
You guys call them sprinkles. We call them jimmies. You get a banana boat over in Kelly's Landing there, like in Southie. A banana boat.
Help us all.
God help us all.
I've never been on the East Coast. I couldn't possibly understand what you're talking about. I've never.
Graf shows up and goes to recruit Deckard.
Here's something interesting too. I mean, I only caught this the last time I watched it too. It's when Batty is taking the elevator down after murdering Tyrell and JF Sebastian, and he looks up, and there are stars. Because the pyramid, the Tyrell pyramid, is so far up and above everything else. It's above that. It's above the atomic cloud line.
Yep.
Because everything below that atomic is literally radioactive. There was something called World War Terminus. Now, this is not in the movie. This happened in the book, "Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep?" And so there was the world terminus, and so people that were on Earth still ran the risk of being sterilized out of like drink water and the air. So everyone wore like lead cod pieces. And but so Batty looks up and he's kind of like giggling to himself and he sees stars. And it's the only time we like really see the stars, because everything else is under that rainy perpetual
It's
rain.
the sun too. The only time you see the sun is when Deckard is doing the Rachel the boy comp test on Rachel, and that's the only time you see the sun in the whole fucking movie. That's one of my biggest complaints
it's above the atmosphere.
Yeah, of 2049 is that the way how dark everything is and the way it's all played, it's different. It feels like a different world that you're on, because it doesn't feel like the same world, because it's constantly dark. You've constantly got that dark feel in Blade Runner. It's because you never see the sun. The sun's blocked out. They screwed it up. And the reason why they're trying to get everybody off world, the reason why the little floats going around, begin again in one of the wonderful off-world colonies, is to get them to leave because they're running out of food. That's why at the beginning of the movie, he was like, no, I want 2, bitch. I want 2 egg rolls. Give me 2. He's like, no, you get one. And noodles. I want noodles. Okay, you get noodles too, but you only get 1.
And 2.
And he's like, no, because he can't give it to him. He can't waste it on him. You're being gluttonous. We're going to run out of food if you bitches keep eating like this.
Well, where do they, at the end of the movie, where did they drive to where they could see the sun? Or were they flying? I don't remember. I've got to watch it again. Because at the end, he and Rachel are leaving, and when you see the world open up, you do see the sun, them driving into the sun, or basically into an area where the sun's at. Is that outside that nobody knows about, outside the cities or the mega cities?
They know about it. Like, they just don't choose to go to it. They choose not to go to it. They choose to live in the slums of the Los Angeles area.
I just love Harrison's
to live in those slums.
I just love Harrison's apathetic, can't be arsed, couldn't give a shit, nonplus, who cares, don't want to do it, bored shitless monologue at the end of the film. Well, and that's one of the things I love about the theatrical version, that I understand he hated doing it. I get it, but it almost makes the movie, and I miss it when it's not there.
It has that noir feel to the Gumshoe noir feel.
Gumshoe narration.
Yeah. That is just that. I mean, I can see what Rob's saying there, but at the same time, it like you said, like, it works because it's just it. Gumshoe's really done. I mean, name one Gumshoe movie where the actual private investigator was actually hardcore emotional. I mean, most of your good Gumshoe movies are going to be where the investigator isn't. He just cares less until towards the end. But
well, the whole point in the film noir era was absolutely, you're correct. The investigator was like, I'm right and you're wrong, and my first big case proves me right and you wrong, and all those cops need to respect me. And then 5 years down the road, that same noir detective is wrong 4 or 5 times out of the and so it's like striking gold with being a film noir detective in modern society.
Oh, I so bad want to talk about that subject, but what Loki's got highlighted, but we can't.
6 more minutes. More minutes, and we'll spend the last 20 minutes talking about that. I love the scene at the beginning, and I especially love the scene where he's talking about the language. He's talking about gutter speak, because you don't get that unless you know that scene. You don't get that. You have no idea what the hell Graf's talking to him about. It's just, picha puto. You have no idea. It's like, get your ass. What do you mean? He say, you Blade Runner. It's like, holy shit, really?
Right?
Tell him I'm eating. Did he just get popped out of a tube? Is he brand new? Is he a replicant? You have no idea what's going on. But with the narration there, it's like it kind of helps it helps more than it hinders, and it makes you feel like you're watching an old war movie but set in the future. It does. So Harrison Ford can hate it all he wants to.
Does Harrison Ford like anything that he's ever been in? Honestly, I mean, in the 80s, I mean, he hated Star Wars. He hates Blade Runner. I mean, what did he like about the movies he starred in the 80s that built his career?
I think he liked Tommy Lee Jones telling him, "I don't care." I think that was it. I didn't kill my wife. I don't care.
That's one of the best lines ever in any movie.
I'm gonna jump out of this hole into the water now. Great, Harrison, go ahead.
Hey, did anyone actually see Dial of Destiny? I didn't.
No, I didn't.
Okay, thank God you are all sane.
I have not seen it.
I don't want to. I really don't. And I watched
the first 10 minutes of Bad Idea.
Yeah, the refrigerator scene. Just I popped it in and I saw the refrigerator scene and said, "Nope." No, and then going backwards after hearing about the Dial of Destiny, I'm like, yeah, that was a pretty genius thing, that refrigerator scene compared to this movie.
Here you go, Mr. Fontaine. I have the same one. I have the 5-disc complete collection. This has something called the work print edition, which was before the director's cut. And so it has a different title card opening. It's got a couple of different music cues. Instead of Vangelis music, it uses, I think, some, I forget, what music it uses, but it's a little different. And then by the end, there's no narration, but then until the very end, Harrison Ford has a completely different set of dialogue narration, and then it ends with a title card, the end, without the happy ending of driving off into the sunset.
Yeah, he says, "Get off my plane."
And this also has, if you can get hold of this, there's a 4-disc collection that does not have work print, but this has the 3.5 hour long documentary Dangerous Days, which is excellent. And you get to see.
Now I'm like, man, my 4K version is ass now.
I got a final cut, and then I found out about this and how to get this. And but you can see one of Sean Young's beautiful bosoms exposed.
Yes!
Oh my goodness! She's a very beautiful woman.
June 1 with $5 super chat. Laces out. Cocktail weenies. Did anyone see DOD? Why would anyone stab themselves with a rusty spoon in the eyes? I might add. No,
thanks.
I thought about watching the first 20 minutes, and I was like, I'll remember Crystal Skull being the end, and him being like, "Not today, kid. You're a Fruit Loop. I'm keeping my hat, you little bastard." Yeah, no, not today. Yeah, he like whips it out of his hand at the wedding. Hands off, you little shit. It's my hat.
I've only gone to the movies to see 2 movies this year, and it's been Mission Impossible 7 and Haunted Mansion, both of which were good. So Haunted Mansion surprisingly is a good movie. It's not bad.
Oh, that's cool.
For what it is.
I have seen 4 movies this year. I know what was the one? John Wick.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Mission Impossible 7, Transformers. There was another one in there, but I think it was Star Trek. I think it was the motion picture, the 4K directed motion picture. Oh yeah, that was either at the end of last year or the beginning of this year. I don't remember.
I think it was into last year because it came out like 2 weeks after or a week after on Paramount Plus. Yeah, that's where I saw that was on Paramount Plus. And Dune 2 will be the next movie and probably the last movie I see this.
I had to go kick their ass too, because when they started that, it was all out of focus, and I was like, "Listen here, you fuck faces, go tell your mom the projector's not working."
Dude, why are you sleeping on the job there, Chief?
Pat S, I'm just gonna wait for it to come. I'm just gonna wait for it to come out and watch it at home. I'm not gonna go to the movie and see Oppenheimer. I get to the point where sitting in a movie for 3.5 hours gets me kind of, pissing and moaning about things.
Now here's an interesting thing in between. Like, now, I think that Ridley Scott suffered from like sentimentality getting older because he got comfortable with the revisions over time over Blade Runner from theatrical cut in 82 to the director's cut in 2002 to the final cut in 2007. And in the final cut in 2007, not only did they re-add the unicorn, but they put in a different piece of dialogue, and I think it's so it matters. It just matters. It's Batty confronting Tyrell, and in the final cut, he says, "I want more life, Father."
Yes,
but in the theatrical cut, and the one I grew up with, and I expect to hear every time, he says, "I want more life, fucker."
Yes.
And that is just so pure and so punk rockish. And just that was, I think, really, accentuates Batty's attitude and his like, his that fire in him.
Well, that desperate will to live. I
mean, and I just think that I think it's such a subtraction to take that fierceness away from Batty, and that, and then Ridley Scott even says, well, I think at this time in my life that I would want Batty to say that. But I mean, when is it a finished product? When are you done with these revisions? And I just like,
do you want those revisions? Because there's been some revisions that people are like, what the hell are you doing?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
What are you doing? And okay, so we'll go ahead and go there as far as whether Deckard is a replicant or not.
What?
And the argument of whether Deckard is a replicant or not. Mark, me before the stream started, me and Mark were discussing it, and I said, the daughter in 2049 has no immune system, nothing. Mm-hmm. You would think she would have got something. If he is human, she would have gotten something from him. But if two replicants have a kid, and there's no way that kid's going to have an immune system when it's born.
Do you feel that 2049 settled the question? I don't think it did.
No,
it didn't. It made you question it more, actually.
And Ridley can be like, oh, he is, and oh, well, he's intended to be, but that's not true. Mm-hmm. That's not true at all. And you can go back and you can revise shit. Yeah. You can come out with a sequel, and you can do whatever you want to.
Rutger says that too in the interviews. He was like, "Yeah, we didn't talk about that back then. That wasn't really on the table." And that's a paraphrase, but I think that kind of nails his spirit. And then Harrison Ford will purposefully be aloof about it too, because I think he likes to be a bit of a troll.
I think it's all the weedy smoke. That's what that is.
Think about the 30 years, right? The 30 years that people have been putting into these franchises. Mm-hmm. Okay, the 30 years these people have been putting into the franchises, and then they put out in the movie theaters, and we go, oh, we're going to accept what you put in the movie theater, even though it's been 30 years since you've had your 20s of life, and now you're going 40 years of life, and I'm going, okay, I need to build something for my children. And 60 years of life, I need to build something for, my legacy. So these guys who didn't have anything in the 70s, and they're building up their lifestyle and their all that stuff that goes along with. Anyway, it's really great transitional.
Gerry, tell us, is he a replicant or not? We asked the ultimate. We finally got to the ultimate question. We've been bullshitting about this and narrations and unicorns and fucking Batty and all this stuff, but now we finally got to the ultimate question of Is he a replicant? Is he one of those guys, or is he a human being, as Sully would say? Is he a human?
Is he AC/DC? Is what we want to know. What charges him up?
Well, I mean,
I've got big balls and she's got big balls.
But
everybody's got the biggest balls of them all.
Okay.
Well, look, I loved it when I got into an argument on Twitter with Doomcock, and he invited me on his show to discuss it. And then he wouldn't let me talk the whole show.
He is no,
I love
ruling the earth.
Doomcock. Do not get me wrong. I love Doomcock. He slays me. But I just enjoyed being on his show because I'm like, I'm not going to get a word in edgewise. Because this is really what it comes down to. And Script Doctor and a lot of other writer friends of mine and I, we talk about it. It's, because we approach this as a writers, because I've been a writer since I was a kid. It's all I wanted to be was not an artist. I was born to be an artist. I dreamed of being a great writer. And the first thing you learn in writing characters is you don't do that. You don't do that. You have to create a character in a story for your audience to either identify with or relate with. And that's what Deckard was supposed to be. He's your central character. And his idea, Ridley's idea, is to, question, is he human? Which is something that's been in the very web work of the story from the beginning. There's that incident when Deckard finds himself arrested in that San Francisco police station. That's an ersatz police station. Ersatz is like Philip K. Dick's use of fake. If something's fake, it's ersatz. So it's a fake police station populated with android policemen. And do they know that they're not? Some of them may suspect that they're not human. Some may not even be aware of it. And he begins to question his humanity, which is where that question comes from in Blade Runner, the movie. Have you ever given that test to yourself?
Yeah.
When Rachel asks that. Okay.
The question, of course, at that point being, have you ever given yourself?
Have you ever given yourself that test? And in the book, basically Deckard begins to doubt his humanity and thinks that maybe he's insane in one of these androids. But quickly it's answered that, oh my God, I'm in a fake police station. These are all androids. How do I get out alive? And they put that into the 97 game, the video game. It's in there. And it's one of my favorite parts of that game. But when it comes down to Blade Runner itself, it doesn't matter what cut it is, he's the narrator. Even if there's no narration in the final cut of the
he is the narrator.
He's the narrator.
There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, it's his story. And here's the thing. When it comes down to any idea in science fiction, you have to make sense when you do it. His being a replicant makes zero sense the way that story is told.
Boom. There it is. There's your answer.
Quicker Hour says, what is this, a puppet show? If he's a replicant, like, who's human? Like,
worse than that, if replicants are illegal on Earth, God, there's so many problems even within the film. I love this movie. It's my favorite movie of all time.
Well, Gerry, that's what one of the things you missed, and I love bringing this up. This whole colony thing, you've got that goddamn blimp throughout the whole movie saying, "Come to the off-world colonies, begin life again." All that's bullshit. Nice. All of that is bullshit. It's getting people to leave Earth because
opportunity and adventure.
Yes.
Here's something funny for you, a little trivia. I don't know if you remember, there used to be one of the first communication tools. It was made in Israel, and everybody was using it here. I forget the name of it, but it was back in the early 2000s, late 90s. And they began the tool of adding sound effects. And they had, as the official Blade Runner blimp voiceover, that ad. You could add that to your sound effects when you were doing communication. Then I had to message him and go, "That's actually not from the movie. That's me." I did it for Blade Zone. When you would go to Blade Zone, it would load an audio of me saying all the lines from the blimp. and they fucking thought it was from the movie. And but anyway, look, Deckard is going through something, and for the story to make sense, he has to go through it. You have what's referred to in writing as story arcs and character arcs. He has his character arc. If he's a replicant, he has no character arc at all.
Correct.
And so therefore, you know, the big thing with him is he's been a killer his entire career. And suddenly he started feeling empathy towards these things. That's why he quit. And there was originally a scene where that caused him to quit that they put into the 2049 at the beginning with Agent K. And that is where he kills this guy on a farm and he has to pull the jaw out because it's encoded and then return it to show that he had retired this replicant. And it's just too much because the guy was too human for him. And it just bothered him. The more advanced the Nexus got, the more it bothered him. Now, in this film, though, Loki, if you recall, there's a plot bubble, a blip, a flap, whatever you want to call it, that when Deckard is in there watching the videos with Bryant, he asks, what do they want to come here for? You know, he doesn't understand in this scene why there's a Nexus 6 coming to Earth. What do they want from here? That question alone creates such a plot problem within the Blade Runner universe. Is they've been made illegal because they keep wanting to come here.
Yeah.
So why are you asking that question if you've been hunting them? You're a rep detect. You're a Blade Runner. That was one of the weirdest questions. And Mike Arthur, who runs one of the Blade Runner sites on Facebook, he and I just got into this great discussion about it the other day. And it's bothered us for years. I mean, I was 18 when I went to see this in 82. And I'm like, I still remember it like, holy crap, what does that even mean? Like, that makes no sense. So this is an imperfect, flawed movie. It's got so many little problems. And one of the greatest problems is the fact that Ridley never got to finish the film. The film we see is the abandoned production because he got fired again.
He got fired.
Gerry Princhett and Bud Yorkin fucking hated him. And they act, you know, for diplomatic reasons, they would say nice things about him later. There was an absolute disdain between them, especially with Bud Yorkin.
Mm-hmm.
And because Yorkin, you know, because I know David Yorkin, the son. He's the guy who
the crew kind of hated him too. They made those T-shirts up.
Well, a lot of people hated Ridley. There was a lot of problems with Harrison. I don't think he hated him, but he did not like working with him. And of course, you know, a lot of people didn't put the numbers together that when the movie was going, Ridley was going to direct it. And they got together, him and Ford and Ryan Gosling, and they're drinking and having a good time. And then the argument started again about Deckard. And people don't understand how fucking angry Harrison Ford was over that. And they made light of it. You'll hear, oh, they got into that old argument. It was, just chuckles. And he wasn't director anymore after that. Just remember that.
And who's more
Before that
important?
discussion, he was the director. Ridley was going to direct the sequel. They have that discussion, the drinks and the argument, and he's no longer the director, and they have to bring somebody else in. And of course, they bring in really a good science fiction director.
Who's more important to the studio, Ridley or Harrison? They're gonna go with
Harrison,
fucking Harrison Ford.
Oh yeah.
Even though he's not in there until the third act, it was important for Ford to be there. And it's a huge selling point, even though the film didn't. It tanked. But none of us expected it to do well. We're like, you're going to put, be careful how much money you put into this thing. Because...
well, we had just entered into that land. No one asked you to make a fucking sequel to one of the greatest movies of all time. We just went through that.
I didn't, because we got the novel sequels. Blade Runner 2, Blade Runner 3. And don't get me wrong, they were okay. They were all right. I'm not that big a fan of them. They changed things in them, and so J.F. Sebastian was more like the character in the book, the chicken head.
J.R. Isidore.
J.R. Isidore. He was more like him. He worked for a veterinarian. The guy that wrote that got the rights because Philip K. Dick left him the rights to write the novelizations. He could continue writing as many as he wanted. And the film was something we all kind of wanted to see a follow-up on. I even wrote for Blade Zone a sequel and a prequel. I actually wrote the story called Solstice that told the story of why he lost his taste for hunting.
I know, Gary, I wasn't saying that nobody asked for this sequel. I said we were in that land where everyone was saying we didn't ask for something. We didn't ask for Solo. We didn't ask for another one of these movies.
And you know what?
And immediately you have that fear somebody's gonna fuck it up and they're gonna ruin it. Doomcock wouldn't even watch the damn movie.
Ruin.
Even
Brian.
after I was like, listen, man, it's not bad. It's not bad. They do some things well. The tone's a little bit different. Even Doomcock was like, no, I'm never gonna watch it. It'll ruin the first one. And I'm like, no,
I gotta tell you, it's better written. There's substantive problems with it. Structurally, it was good. I had a problem that there is no real Blade Runner DNA outside of Harrison Ford and the name. It doesn't look like Los Angeles from Blade Runner.
No.
He created his own look. He has this thing with everything needs to be more sterile looking. And that was a problem because, remember, the city was retrofitted because instead of being able to grow because people were populating the city, they moved up. And so they had to retrofit the city for the people that were living there. But there were huge swaths of area in Los Angeles that were abandoned. Like Sebastian lived in the old Bradbury building. He was the only person in there, at least as far as we know. But I felt aesthetically it didn't have the look that Blade Runner. It didn't feel like Blade Runner. Past that, I still enjoyed the film. And you can talk to Gary Willoughby because he runs Blade Zone now. He's a little more negative than me. I try to be a little proactive about it. That I think they tried. I liked Kay as a character, but aesthetically, it just didn't feel like Blade Runner. It just didn't. Kay's apartment in the kitchen was the only scene I felt that felt like Blade Runner when he was in his kitchen. It felt compact. And there's all sorts of shit around, lots of texture. And that's the big thing with Blade Runner, a lot of texture, a lot of smoke. And if you know the story behind the making of Blade Runner, there was a problem with all the smoke that Ridley wanted on the set.
There's always something with Ridley and smoke. There's always something, whether it's alien or,
He likes atmosphere. He likes visual atmosphere. He likes depth.
Constant rain on set, the constant rainmakers.
Because his movie Black Rain, that film has so much in common with Blade Runner. It's ridiculous.
Actually, I never even thought
visually and structurally, there's so many things. But Ridley, and this is where I've always been terrified of interviewing Ridley. That's why we never went after him. At least I didn't. I interviewed quite a few people with Blade Runner, and I'm friends with quite a few, but I never. Ridley knows who I am because I was friends with Charlie Danzalarica, the guy behind the Blu-ray DVD special features and the fixing of the film. He's the one who did all the visual effects that fixed what was wrong with the film. And I've known Charlie for 25 years, and I've avoided interviewing Ridley because he'll find out the truth of how I feel about him as a director, because I think he's a great cinematographer. And I think he's made some great film, but I think he doesn't understand irony or structure. And if he doesn't have a solid script, his movies suck. If his script is not solid when he starts shooting, it sucks. There's going to be problems with the story because he doesn't think that way. He's a visual director. He's a visual storyteller, and he's an amazing cinematographer. everybody gives Cronenworth credit for the look of Blade Runner. It's really Ridley. Cronenworth was picked because I think it was easier to manage him because he was sick. If you didn't know that, he was dying during the production. And his son's an amazing DP, by the way. Cronenworth, amazing. But anyway, I digressed. Sorry about that, Loki.
That's awesome.
I start talking Blade Runner.
You got a lot of insight, dude. You know a lot.
No, yeah, and you love this stuff. I mean, that's why I invited you in the first place, because I know how much you love this.
Here's a good one for you. Did you know? Well, no, out there in TV land, most of us probably know that Dustin Hoffman was going to be Deckard. And
there's even storyboard art with him in it.
That would have never worked.
Yeah,
that would have never worked.
Yeah, huh?
That would have been a totally different movie. No,
well, he's actually close. I can see him closer to Deckard in the book. Like book Deckard's a completely almost.
Well, he's a bureaucrat. He's a bureaucrat in the book.
Yeah.
He's a glorified armed bureaucrat.
But he's also like a henpecked husband too. So you would have to have the wife. You know what I mean? Perhaps too.
Oh, he is definitely under somebody's thumb, and he's never sure of himself. I mean, the whole mercerism thing is in there because he relies on that. Mm-hmm. He relies on the mood organ and the damned mercerism to keep him motivated and going. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, mercerism is the religion. The
religion of the book.
Yeah.
For everyone, for those out there in TV land.
Yeah.
Stop rolling your eyes. You're gonna get sent to the southeast.
Dude, wicked.
So who's all here?
Mark the Infinitely Tired, Eric Sully.
Oh, I mean in the chat.
In chat, Kronos,
I'm a chat
Walter
Tomosky. I love the chat. I love
Shellback
the chat.
TJC, Disney Sheepherder,
Awesome
Chris
one.
Berger.
Kronos. Look at that. Victor Fontaine's here. What's up?
Victor Fontaine.
Of course, my dear friend Penny is here.
Penny's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Penny is awesome. The shiznets. You know what? I've ruined her.
Oh my goodness!
She was such a devout, Christian, nice lady. Now she says effed up things in the chat, and it's because of me, and I blame me for it.
She's always nice in chat with us.
Oh, you got to see her. Some of the things she'll say in our chat. It's just
okay,
funny. And she'll say things that are borderline very blue. My girlfriend Anima is like, yeah, you totally ruined her.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, you did.
So Das Wolfen's here, my buddy John. He's part of Pop Culture Minefield. Pat, of course, is here. Gerry made this darker than I even imagined. I don't know how that's possible. I'm such a uplifting person.
A ray of sunshine.
I'm a ray of
and we can only see at the top of the Tyrell pyramid.
Yes,
I got my ex-girlfriend a coffee mug. She goes, "Don't give me any crap. I'm a ray of fucking sunshine on the mug."
Yeah, Gerry, I got a question for you.
Yeah, buddy.
Okay, so I only came to this conclusion. We talked about this a little earlier. Did you catch that part of? I read this in Future Noir near the end.
Which version is that? Because the one that's from the UK has Gerry and me in it.
Really?
They did a 4-page interview for the UK edition.
Cool. I have to check. I'll double check that, but I think it's the US edition. To be honest, it's the second edition. It includes parts from some maker notes from. This is from 2017.
Okay, if you go to the Blade Zone page, not the group, the page on Facebook. The entire interview is on there. And by the way, Paul Salmon, the author, is a member of Blade Zone. He's one of our editors.
But
I've been friends with that guy for a long time.
But here's the thing. I've seen this movie countless times in every version. And I only, it's one of the blink and you miss it scenes. It's what happens when Deckard loses his grip and before Batty catches him.
Theatrical version.
Wait,
it's in all versions.
Of the gun when he drops it, you mean?
When he's hanging on for dear life, Batty's over him, and then he finally loses his grip.
Okay, let me explain this scene. It's many people missed this when the movie came out, and they didn't realize because the sound was so loud, you couldn't hear what Deckard did. You could see it, but it's so fast and the cut is so quick, people missed it. And I explained to people early on, no, go back and watch what he does. That's what saved his life. Batty was going to let him die. And in a millisecond, that's how fast his reflexes are. Deckard is slipping and he's down to those last two fingers. And Batty's like, that's what it is to be a slave. And Deckard spits at it.
Yes.
He spits a big honking loogie at
right
it
in his face
with his tongue like that. And it's a huge gob goes at him, and his finger lets go, and Batty grabs him. If he hadn't spit at him, I believe he would have let him die. I think that was the whole point.
Yes.
That it's him spitting in the face of his own death.
Yes, that his defiance is that fight. This human
Batty
quality
goes, you are my man.
Yes. So
and he takes his weak hand, the one that you saw him have problems with, and he put the nail through and catches him with that hand. That's how fast he is and strong he is.
Man, and it's just, I think that's a great, really pulls that together. So everyone out there, you're never going to unsee this. You're going to see it from now on. You're going to be, oh my goodness, that's Deckard spits in Batty's face, and just like
it's like one of the first things I noticed that he spit at him, and I'm like, because here's what happened back in '82. I went with my best friends, Jim Woodward, David Gray, Mike Vida, whole group of us went to see Blade Runner, and we went to see it at the Greenbrier Theater. It's one of those tiny twin theaters. They're really tiny, narrow. It's like two Connexes next to each other. That's how narrow these theaters are. And we're sitting there in the front row watching this movie, and we were expecting Indiana Jones or Star Wars, and we got this brutal, dark, horrific world. Harrison Ford's murdering women, and it's like, and we came out of that movie, and whenever we would see a movie together, because we always went as a gang, we would just like be blathering like 16-year-old girls on prom night. We couldn't shut up, We walked out of Blade Runner dead silent. The only thing that was said when we walked out of that movie was I looked over and there's Craig Edwards, my buddy who went on to work for Pee Wee Herman and a bunch of sci-fi shows and movies. He's a special effects guy. We made movies together back in high school. And Craig and I are still good friends to this day. And there's Craig standing there, and I looked at him and I went, "Hey, are you going to go see Blade Runner?" And he's like, very droll. He looks at me and goes, "Oh," like that. I don't know if that's yes or no. And then I said, "Are you wearing makeup?" And it led to an ongoing joke between the two of us all the way up until recently. He did a video making fun of that moment when I asked him, "Are you wearing mascara?" Is what he was wearing. Because he was one of those goth drama freaks back in high school. And I didn't know that. And so we walked out, got in the car, drove home. Each one of us got dropped off. And it was the last week of school. And I went and bought a copy of the book to read it. I'd never read the book. And I read the book, and we all got together and we admitted we hated it. I didn't like Blade Runner. I'm like, I couldn't understand what the hell was going on. Then we all went and read the book individually. Nobody suggested it. It just happened. We all read the book. And we came away with a better understanding of certain themes. And we went back the next week into the matinee and saw it again, and we couldn't shut up. I was completely changed. It's the single most impactful and influential film of my life. And I walked away with one comparison, and I challenge you guys to check out and see the themes I'm talking about. I'm a big fan of Les Miserables, the book, and by Victor Hugo. And I caught the similarities between Blade Runner, the movie, and the book Les Miserables. And it's fascinating. There are so many of the same themes, wanting a life, wanting to escape, being pursued, and trying to protect and live.
You think that Deckard is Javert?
He is kind of Javert. And whereas, of course, Batty is in his own way Jean Valjean.
Yeah.
But now, of course, I bring this up. Now I have to tell you the history of Jean Valjean and Javert are the same person. They're both based on the same man. Two versions of the same person. And he's the famous French detective. I just forgot his name. Oh my God. He's the guy who invented the height chart. What's that?
Oh, I said Clouseau.
Oh, no, the famous real.
Your dog, does it bite? No, my dog does not bite. I thought you said your dog does not bite. That is not my
dog. Yeah, that's one of my favorite gags from that movie. No, it's the famous French detective. He's the one who invented height charts to put at doors for stores and stuff. He's the one who came up with that. He was the one who came up with the understanding of different kinds of feet and the spread of how people walk. He's the one who did that. Sherlock Holmes didn't do that. That came from this Frenchman. And he was so famous at the time, there were plays and musicals and books written about him. And one of them is Les Miserables. And the two characters, Javert and Jean Valjean, are based on him, both characters. One, he was a criminal. He was a criminal in real life. He went to prison. And then he became one of the most sought-after detectives used by the French gendarmes to help them find criminals. But anyway, this is Keith and me. That's why we're friends. We are just chock full of information and trivia. We just know way too much. It's ridiculous. Loki, are you even here, man?
Oh yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
Right.
No,
He's having a good
that's
time.
what I love. That's what I love about you and Keith is that. So, no, it's a whole shitload of information. I never even thought about putting Les Mis in with Blade Runner. But as soon as you said that, I was immediately like, Inspector Javert, lifelong pursuit of a criminal. Yeah.
And with 2049, there's the revolution, which I got excited by that, by the way. I got excited by a revolution. I was annoyed that they got rid of Tyrell. His family should have still been running it. I thought the idea of that one character was just dumb. I didn't like his character either.
But it's interesting too, looking at like the intersection of real life, like how like, Elon Musk took over Twitter and rebranded it.
See, they could have had something like that without doing what they did. I think that Tyrell should have still been a major corporation even 20 years later.
Mm-hmm.
And
but it was the Tyrell Corporation just rebranded with the new corporate owner.
Yeah, but I didn't like him. That was my problem. I didn't like his character. He was weird.
They wanted to make him like he had a god complex. Yeah, I'm your creator. I create God. And the scene with Rachel, in 2049, I don't think they could have had that scene with Rachel at the end if it hadn't have been somebody like that. That could just walk over there and put a bullet in her head and not give two shits about it. Because he didn't. These were all his creations and he controlled them and he gave them life or took it away or it was all his crazy ass choice. Now, was that a good choice to have someone like that in that movie? But they couldn't have done some of the shit I don't either, but they couldn't have done some of the shit they did without having someone like that. Change it, yes. But
I also felt like, even though I'm a big fan of hers, I can't think of her name right now, the princess from Princess Bride, being the captain.
Robin Wright.
Right, yes.
Yeah, I liked her role, yeah.
I liked her role, but when Love came to kill her, it was woman on woman violence, and it just was weird to me. To show her being physically stronger than humans, they should have had males in the room for her to have offed with her, not just to kill her. I don't know. I just had problems with it.
The Wallace Corporation.
I thought the most hardful part of that movie though was when they bring Rachel out in 2049 and Deckard's just standing there like, you son of a bitches. I could, it was one of those oh fuck they went there moments. How could they go there? And
I really felt the CG could have been better too on her.
Oh yeah, definitely. Oh, definitely.
Because the Uncanny Valley are naturally catch CG, and it needed to feel more natural. They should have used more de-aging type software. But either way it goes.
Did they even ask Sean Young to come back and do that?
Yes. Yeah.
Ah.
She lit her voice, and they did AI to it to de-age her voice. Because I'm friends with Sean. She's wonderful. I'll just be sitting here and I'll get a bleep, bleep on my phone, and I'll look over and she sends me a selfie. She's such a sweetheart. Yeah, she has such a bad reputation, but it's like, no, she's really a very nice person. She's loopy, yeah. But I love her for that. The first time I ever talked to her, like, she called me at work. My boss lost his mind. Greg's like, he's like a 12-pack a day cigarettes. Who is that? Did it Sean Young? Sean Young, like Blade Runner Sean Young? Like, yeah. Can I listen?
Can I listen?
He wanted to listen in. No, I don't. So she called me, and I didn't know what she was calling for. And all she talked about was spirit photography and growing up Catholic, because we both grew up Catholic. And we talked about Catholic school. And that was it. I'm like, and I got off the phone, and Craig was like, what did she want? And I'm like, I have no idea. I don't know. We just talked about Catholicism and spirit photography, because she was doing that back then, doing that aura stuff. She would take photos and get your auras. You know what I'm talking about?
I do.
You ever heard of that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. She. Oh my God. Who's fucking Avatar? Mark the Infinity.
That's Mark. That's the guy right up, diagonal from you.
Oh,
the 27 abs of Mark.
Yeah, the 27 abs. That's amazing, dude.
Oh, me and chat. Okay, I don't use that avatar as my voice avatar. That's my chat avatar.
I'm like, holy crap, what? That is cool, though. I love that. It's like a stack of abs. But so anyway, what do we want to talk about now?
Well, there were 6 replicants that came down, and one of them or two of them
Mary
got electrocuted.
Stacy Nelligan. One got electrocuted, and so we never see them, but we were going to meet, and there was she was cast. It was Stacy Nelligan, who is the mayor from Spin City's wife in real life.
Oh, okay. She
was cast as Mary, and basically he was supposed to find her dying in a closet, and she was expiring.
Right.
And but the thing that always bothered me, was that he seemed to, and this is why the whole replicant thing was stupid. It's like, so what you're telling me is they made a replicant cop that can't fight the things that he's chasing. That's planning.
But he does.
Hi, Lady Mist. No, they kick his butt. Even the females do. And I got to tell you, Brian James' scene, it's one of my favorite scenes. He's going to kill him.
But he kills them.
He's
going to kill them. The only one he doesn't kill.
Rachel kills.
Rachel kills Leon.
Kills Leon, and he doesn't kill. He doesn't kill Batty,
he kills
but
Zora.
He does. Yeah, he kills Zora.
Kills Pris.
He kills Zora. He kills Pris. Yeah.
So and he does kill.
All he does is murder women.
Yeah.
It's like, my God. The first time I saw that, I'm like, is nobody catching on to the problem here? Just murdering.
There was supposed to be some in the original ending. He was supposed to kill Rachel too, but
yeah. And in my short story that I wrote, he does eventually, because she's dying, and he just takes her out and does a Lenny scene from Of Mice and Men. Tells her to look out across the river and pops her in the back of the head and puts her out of her misery because she's just dying. It's like horrible death. But
Jun Wong asked, "Is the real question: are Ken and Barbie replicants?"
I haven't even seen it yet, and I'm tempted to. I'm tempted to because I think it was it Gerry Nerdrotic seemed to have liked it, And I've heard from several other people that I like. And
EBS said it was a good movie.
I love his interpretation was because he's like, and then someone else said like, well, this is a man who grew up with sisters and who has daughters, and so he like sees this. No, this is a woman.
I raised my little girl by myself, man, and so I told her that if she wants to go see it, I'll go see it with her. She almost went to the other day. She was going to meet me at the theater to go see Sound of Freedom, but she couldn't get out of work, and so I'm like, oh well. But,
Shellback, yes, I believe replicants are fully functional in every way.
Yes,
because Pris was a pleasure model.
Another thing that was done in the in that opening scrawl, that they were as intelligent, equal intelligence of their maker. It's like, that's just dumb. Why would anybody do that? It's like, makes no sense. Why would you do that? You would only want them to be as smart as what they need to do.
If the creators are up their own ass, they won't think like that. You and I both know. I mean, take the Jurassic Park way of thinking. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something. And if a scientist is going to be up his own ass about it,
I don't agree, Loki, because this is commerce. Nobody's ever going to make a computer more powerful than it needs to be.
But Tyrell was all about that perfection. I see. That's the thing. Tyrell, in his own way, was just as crazy as the guy that's in 2049. I can't remember his fucking name. But Tyrell, it was all about that perfection. He was even kind of having a back and forth with what's the little shit's name? The one that Pris goes to. Sebastian. He was constantly having that back and forth with Sebastian, because it's all about the intellect. It's all about the intelligence. It's all about the perfection.
They all had eco signatures built into them. Is what it is. We lost Gerry.
Gerry will be back.
But it's all an ego signature is what it is. If you look at it that way, because even Sebastian had that by the perfection of the eyes and doing what happened.
But in the the good thing in the book, though, it was Tyrell was not the only manufacturer of replicants. There was competition making different models. You know what I mean? They were still replicants. They were just of a different.
Yeah, well, that's the whole thing. Because there are other robotic companies, and people will go. People go, well, what are they exactly? Are they clones? I said, no, they're not clones. They are biomechanical. Each one of their organs are manufactured by a specific company, sub-company, and they send them to Tyrell Corporation, and there they piece them together, just like a robot, but with actual biological organs, and that's it. And the brain is treated like a computer, and it's programmed, and so the whole thing with the Nexus 6, the whole thing with that is that this is the first time Tyrell has experimented with memory. And creating memories. And Rachel, of course, is the first one to have the false memories. Whereas the Nexus 6 that they're dealing with in the film are trying to create memories.
And that's the whole photograph. And that's the whole basis for anyone who believes Deckard is a replicant, is that Deckard was like the male version of what Rachel was. Now, do I agree with that? No, but that's a lot of the basis for, Deckard's a replicant because he's the guy version of what Rachel is.
And they do answer the question, because people didn't understand that in 2049, Deckard's human. Deckard says it himself. I know what I am. But they also point out that what Tyrell was doing was an experiment, in that Rachel and Deckard, it was an experiment to see if a human could breed with a replicant. That was supposedly Tyrell's goal. I look at that and go, why? Why is that a goal? Okay. But
when you're God,
maybe, I don't know. But either way it goes, they don't understand that when that moment is mentioned in the film, they were confirming that Deckard was human.
Here's the other argument, Gerry. the reason why the kid had no immune system and had to be locked in that bubble is that both of her parents were replicants, and they had no immune system to transfer to her, and that's why she has to stay in that bubble, because anything that's going to get her sick is going to kill her, because the immune system in her parents was manufactured and not real.
If you look at it that way, though, Loki, I mean, there are humans born without immune systems.
That's true. That is
it
absolutely
could
true.
be a genetic flaw.
It's just a genetic flaw between the human DNA and the replicant DNA. And that's just all it is.
Yeah.
But when they say that, though, Loki, that defeats the statement, is they're saying that was the grand experiment if a human could breed with a replicant. And so twice in the film, you get Deckard saying it, and then you have that statement. That because Harrison Ford, I'm just telling you.
Oh, I know. He didn't want to be.
Harrison Ford wouldn't be in the film if there was a question of his humanity. Because
he absolutely.
No part of it.
Yeah, he wanted to have. I know. Harrison did not want to be a replicant, and there was the clashing between Ridley, because that didn't happen until after that too. Is the huge mishmash of, well, Ridley says he is, but Harrison says he's not. That they never discussed that. They never talked about that, and that when he asked about it, he wasn't at the time, and now they're retconning, and they shouldn't do that, and all yada yada yada, all that. I agree with that, but it's still possible, even without really changing everything. It's possible.
Yeah, and one of the things that they led to is also the glowing in the eye on the back of the retina, showing them. The whole idea is actually giving them a look of like an animal. You know how animals with night vision.
Yeah,
and
the owl. You see it with the owl, and with the owl. Sean Young and the owl.
But
I always thought
people don't notice it that there are 3 other characters whose eyes glow in the film that are supposed to be human. Holden at the very beginning when he's interviewing. Leon, his eyes glow in one shot.
Okay.
Then later Ford turns and he's out of focus in exiting the bathroom.
Yeah, that's like his
you
evidence.
Can see it there. But also when he's exiting the elevator, J.F. Sebastian's eyes glow.
Oh.
And it's 3 times within the film. Some people didn't notice it, but it is there. I think it's 1 or 2 frames that you can see it. But his eyes glow. And it's something Mike Arthur, again, Brian Ebenhawk, all of us have talked about this. God, the entire Blade Runner community, it's so huge. People don't realize how big the Blade Runner community is now. Because we started this back in 1995. I started, the origin of the Blade Runner fan sites began in 95. And the first big one was made by one of the guys that was one of the co-inventors of the IMDb. And I remember when he wrote me, he says, well, Mike, I'm shutting my stuff down. It's yours. You can do it now. I'm shutting my website down. I'm going to do this thing called the Internet Movie Database.
Hello, 6.
Like, okay, so he shut his website down, and Blade Zone became the preeminent Blade Runner website. And it's been that way since. And we've gone so in depth. And here's what's pissing Gerry and me off right now. We just had a conversation. My interview with Lisa Edelstein isn't even on there anymore. There's other stuff that he and I've written, Gerry and I've written. And I even explained the black hole gun, because Leon's gun is a black hole gun, if you didn't know that. When he shoots.
The 4-shotter. Yeah.
You can actually get 2 frames. There are 2 frames, and I've shown them, where you can see the purple blast coming out. It's like a laser blast coming out. And the black hole bullets that are in there implode and do soft tissue damage by imploding and pulling everything into it. And it lasts for a microsecond when it hits and bursts. Horrifying weapon when you think of it. And I talked about like the AI in the film, because a lot of people don't notice that when the cop walks out to the car at the beginning, when Deckard's being escorted and the uniform officer walks out to the vehicle, he touches the vehicle and all of a sudden the doors start opening And also the parking meters are death traps. If you mess with one of them, you will be electrocuted. And they are AI. You can actually talk to the parking meters. Negotiate prices.
Negotiate prices. God help
you
me.
owe me $12.
He say, you Blade Runner, you pay double.
And that leads to something I've wanted to tell you about Loki. One of my favorite moments in my life was I came home from work one day. This is back in 98, I think. No, it was 99. It was the year my daughter was born. 99. I came home from work and I had my answering machine and it was blinking. And I'm like, oh, I got a message. I never know who's calling me. It's sometimes like Bruce Campbell would like leave me a message every once in a while. You know, it's weird. I have had a weird privileged life when it came to knowing people. And so I walk home and I'm like in the door and I look over and I push the button and I hear this. Hello, Gerry. This is James Hong. I only do eyes. Call me.
Call me.
I need your
Call me. And I'm like, what the fuck? It was the coolest thing that ever happened in my life, getting a message from James Hong like that.
Dude,
and he's a
yes.
sweetheart of a guy too. Very nice man. And when we, you know, like Gerry and I discovered, we found Joe Turkel because in the IMDb had him listed as dead back in the 90s. And Gerry Willoughby and I found him, still quite alive. And I did like the first, and I remember this is just one of those pure examples, Loki, of what a jackass I am. Because I said, what do you prefer to be called? Joe, Joseph? And he said, Mr. Turkel. And I said, well, okay, Joe. I proceeded to call him Joe during the whole interview. And then like later, I was like, when I played it back, I'm like, oh my God, what did I do? Because I just wasn't thinking. And I'm like, oh my God, I just kept calling him Joe after he said he didn't want to be called.
Is Deckard a replicant? Is he not a replicant? Everybody's going to believe what they want to believe. You got one guy who's going to say he is. You got one guy who's going to say it isn't. What is it?
No, it's been a debate. What
theory.
became a recent debate, Loki, and I was over on one of the main Blade Runner groups on Facebook and got into it with a few people. And the main Blade Runner guys were like, you need to shut up because Gerry knows what he's talking about. Test his knowledge. And so they were like saying, you know, one tried to say that it was mentioned in a magazine back in the 80s that he was a replicant and that people were talking about it in the 80s. I said, that's a lie. Nobody was talking about it in the 80s. I was embedded into those groups. Nobody talked about it. That didn't come about until Ridley talked about it with after the director's cut was released, 1992. I said before that, it was not part of the lexicon. Nobody considered it that he was a replicant. Nobody. And he says, well, it was in, and he mentioned Fantastic Films magazine. And I said, well, just so happens I have every Fantastic Films magazine. I'm going to pull them up. Let's see. No, not in any of them. I have every major sci-fi magazine on my computer. And if somebody does something, I will go and check and call them out on their bullshit. And I just called that guy a liar. I said, you're a fucking liar. You know, you said two things that weren't true. And it started in the 90s. And it got even more attention when Paul Salmon released his book, Future Noir. Because that's where Ridley talks openly about it. And but anyway, it just, Boosh is out there. Fuck you, Boosh. He's a good buddy of mine. But shut up, Mr. Cassell. You are not put upon this planet to get it.
Mm-hmm.
That's Mr. Burton. That's Jack Burton.
Oh, yeah. I know.
Lopan.
You'll be skinned alive and hung from your entrails. Yes.
You see this? this shit pisses me off to no
This
end.
shit really pisses me off.
To no end. To no end.
Guys, we're getting out of here. I want to thank Gerry for hopping in here. I want to thank Eric O'Sullivan for being here. Thank you so much, my friend. Mark the Eminently Tired, our angriest wrench in Valhalla. So angry, he's my big brother, ladies and gentlemen, and he's pissed.
It's all
He's got a hammer.
I hope
Plus,
I
he's
brought my
got
A game for you, man.
A good and evil. You did. No, absolutely. And I want to thank you because I know you love this. I know you love this stuff. You're absolutely there from the very beginning. I can't say that. I got into this in the late 80s, early 90s because I watched my dad. I watched my pa, watching the original theatrical cut. And I was like, what the hell are you watching?
With the narration.
It's with the narration.
It's the narration. I like that one the best myself.
I wanted to do a fan edit that takes the narration and puts it to the final cut. That's what I wanted to do.
Absolutely.
That would be nice.
Absolutely. I'm so much of a fan that I created the fan club. That's how big of a fan I am.
And guys, you can do that too. Never forget that. If you love something that much and you want to put the heart, you want to put the soul, and you want to put the work in it, you can do that.
Well, I wanted to do it to another movie too. My second favorite movie of all time, The Thing. But somebody at the same time I did Blade Runner came up with, or Blade Zone, they did a thing called Outpost 31, and it's still going strong. It's the preeminent The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing website. Go check them out. Subscribe to them. They're great.
But yeah, guys, make sure you are subscribed to these two gentlemen down here. Pop Culture Minefield, absolutely wonderful morning show. It comes on about an hour after I go up the air every single morning, Monday through Friday. Check them out. Make sure you're subscribed.
Plus TGIF on Friday and Saturday morning fun time.
Yes.
In the afternoons, but it's morning somewhere.
Make sure you are subscribed to him and Keith. Keith is absolutely brilliant.
I love
Gerry, not so much. But we love Gerry anyway. He's like the redheaded stepchild.
That's me.
We love you. And make sure you're subscribed to Eric O'Sullivan too.
Thank you.
Absolutely wonderful YouTuber,
love Eric,
content creator from the Southie Projects.
Wicked Pissa, Chief.
Wicked Pissa. Yeah. Wicked Pissa.
I had a heart attack in the back of your head.
Say hi to your mom for me.
Oh my goodness. Say hi to your mother. We parked the car in Harvard Yard. What are you, retarded? You can't park your car there. You get towed.
And Loki, Mary and I may be back soon.
Okay. And make sure you're subscribed to Mary's Game Room. Mark does so much for the charity over there, guys. This is like a last wish for kids. They do so much for charity for these kids. It's like kind of like Make-A-Wish, but it's their own thing. They play games. They do 24-hour streams. They do board games. They do Fortnite. Make sure you're subscribed to Mary's Game Room because something's big coming and it's coming soon. Guys, we will be back tomorrow morning. Again, thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you for hanging out with us while we talked about Blade Runner.
Thanks for inviting me, man.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, guys.
Tonic.
Right.
Have a bottle of tonic.
Have a bottle of tonic. A little shaky. Guys, take care. Be excellent to each other. Always speak friend to enter. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Have a great one.
Hey.
I can hit the out button.